I'm talking today to James Lamper. James is a UK behaviour and eating therapist. Hi James, how are you?
Hello Joanne, I'm doing very well, thank you.
Great. James, today we're talking about eating disorders. Firstly, what is an eating disorder?
An eating disorder is a medical condition where someone's relationship with food, eating, weight and body image has become so distorted that it's now recognized by DSM-4, so a medical classification of there are a set of symptoms and behaviors which are recognized, and when they are seen within a group, they are classified as an eating disorder, such as anorexia or bulimia.
Who gets eating disorders, and are eating disorders curable?
Anybody can get an eating disorder because food is such a primal and intimate aspect of our lives. If there is a sense of not feeling in control in our lives, the one thing that we can actually control is the amount of food that goes into our mouths. So anybody at any time can form an eating disorder. Generally, it starts for a lot of people in their teenage years when there is, I suppose, the rational adult mind is still being established. So a lot of people would have an eating disorder start in their teenage years, and many of the people that come to see myself in the clinic here in London, the Weight Matters practice, they end up with maybe a hangover in their 20s and 30s. They maybe sort of had a little bit of treatment in their teenage years, but they're still suffering and struggling. And sadly, I still see many people in their 50s and 60s who have such a distorted relationship with food, and their life is really of a poor quality because food is taking up such a drastic amount of their time.
If we were to take, let's say, 3 eating orders, anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating, can you tell me what the symptoms of each of those would be and how they differ from each other?
Absolutely. So with anorexia nervosa, there is a severe restriction of food. It's based mainly around a need for control, generally because of issues that maybe are going on in relationship with other people around them. But it's a way of being quite rebellious and quite controlling. And as someone starts to restrict food, generally it can also be for a desire to want to lose weight. But the losing weight and the speed of losing weight then gets positively stroked by people's comments saying, "You look amazing." And it tightens and it motivates the need for this control. And as the weight starts to spiral down, as the under-eating starts to affect the brain starts to work less efficiently. So our cognitive function deteriorates, as well as the physical health. And the less nutrition the brain gets, the less ability the individual has to make rational decisions about health. And that's why anorexia is the biggest mental disease killer, because people then get to a place where they can't make sense and make decisions to actually feed themselves, which is very, very sad. With bulimia nervosa, again, it can be based around a desire to lose weight, but also a desire to want to deal with very difficult emotions. So someone will, again, choose to maybe eat lots of food because they are feeling emotionally out of control, but then realize that if they they purge themselves, either by making themselves sick or by over-exercising or by taking laxatives. If any of these behaviors follow on from the comfort eating or the binging, then we call this bulimia nervosa. So in a way, there is overeating to maybe deal with emotions, but then we have the purging episode afterwards. And with binge eating disorder, it is mainly the first element of this. So there is feeling out of control with emotions and a desire and a need to deal with them using food. And someone eats very large amounts of food in a very fast amount of time, usually in a very secretive way, and they feel overfull. And then there's a lot of self-recrimination following the event, but there's no purging behavior afterwards. And going back just quickly to your previous question is, yes, eating disorders are curable. And that's really important people understand that. So with the right treatment, people can rid themselves and live their lives to the full.
With the eating disorders, though, and just to elaborate a little bit more on it, I think you mentioned it briefly earlier. Is it really about the food, or is there a deeper meaning to the use of the food?
Yes, absolutely. So the way that I work is, the best way to look at it is someone's distorted eating behavior is almost like the symptom that I'm seeing on the outside. It's a way that maybe dis-ease in relationship, hurt, pain, relationship rupture, it manifests. It manifests in a way of, I'm not happy and I don't know what to do with this. But generally underneath, it's because there has been some pain, hurt, or ripping of a relationship, and the individual just does not know what to do with their pain and their hurt. And food becomes a way of either communicating or soothing that pain.
Just one last final question, James. What advice would you give to somebody who thinks that a family member or somebody they know has an eating disorder? How should you approach that person?
Okay. I think it's very important that they do approach the person, but it's the way that it's done. So it's about finding a time when you notice that they are maybe in a more stable mood, maybe a little bit brighter, and to go to them and maybe in a non-judgmental or critical way, just to offer an observation of what you're noticing. So be it a restriction of food, maybe noticing a need to go to the bathroom after a meal, and then tell the other person how that makes you feel. So to, rather than sort of accuse, is to acknowledge and therefore teach the other person about showing your feelings and your emotions. So for example, just saying, I'm really worried, or I'm really scared that I'm noticing you do this, and I just need to ask these questions of you. And in a way that opens up communication, which is usually the problem at the root of the eating disorder.
Thank you, James. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.